We are fired up for episode 120 of Catfish on Ice. I see
Absolutely.
Rich Howe over there. He's my co-host is definitely fired up. I am fired
Absolutely.
up. I think the entire Preds fan base is fired up tonight. This is Catfish on Ice, episode 120 with Chad Minton and Rich Howe, your host. Welcome back to the podcast. It's been a very eventful weekend, to say the least. What do we even say, Rich? What do we even say?
I don't even know. Man, it's frustrating is the word that comes to mind.
Yeah, a little bit. Frustrating is a fair word.
Frustration, disappointment, a little disappointment setting in, but you know. What are you going to do?
Well,
what are you going to do?
You want to see the team execute in the clutch situations. We do our clutch performers of the week every week. We're going to do those this week. Yep. But you really want to see this team we want to see this team like deliver in these clutch moments, and they weren't able to do that against the Penguins.
No.
And they weren't able to do that against the Florida Panthers in a very, very difficult back-to-back scenario. I mean, when you're asking for a team to go against the Florida Panthers and the Pittsburgh Penguins in a back-to-back this late in the season, that is a very difficult task.
It was. And that is, I totally agree. Both of those games were winnable. That's the bad part. They had perfect opportunities to win both of those games and just couldn't get it done. So those were, especially the Pittsburgh game, I feel like they just kind of gave that one away a little bit. Florida, I can kind of understand, but they were in that one the whole game, I felt, as well.
They were. Yep.
They just couldn't pull it off, but
definitely.
What are you going to do?
This is episode 120 of Catfish on Ice, presented by DraftKings. And as always, we are part of the awesome Hockey Podcast Network. We're getting into the nitty-gritty of this NHL season. There's no room for error here. The Preds are right there on that playoff bubble, and we've got to buckle ourselves in because I'm telling you, I'm holding true to this. I think that back-to-back to end the season, Colorado, Arizona, to close out the season is going to be to make the playoffs. It's going to be basically a play your way in for the Predators.
100% agree.
I hope I'm wrong. Like I love to be wrong. I would love to be wrong, but I just feel like that's what's going to come down to.
I hope so too. But if you look at the rest of the schedule, three games should be very winnable for them. The other games, all the rest of them are not very, very doubtful. So, and you could even say so. Don't feel good about it. That's for sure.
Can we even trust matchups anymore, though? Like, honestly,
yeah, you're right.
You see a team on the other side, and you're like, yeah, we should beat that team, and it never happens that way. But yeah, you look at the schedule, and it's tough. Like, it's a difficult remaining schedule for sure. Let's let you know what we got in store for you for episode 120 of Catfish on Ice. We are going to really dive into the Preds Penguins fallout. I'm not calling it recap. I'm calling it fallout. It's a fallout because that game really got the emotions flowing. It was, of course, the Evgeny Malkin cross check that's got everyone rightfully upset. There's plenty of people out there. This is what I really love to see. There's so many media personalities out there who are speaking out against that dirty hit and that dirty play. And we're basically all sick of this preferential treatment that we're seeing, not just for Penguins players, but for all the star players. We don't want to see that in this game.
No, not at all. And if you look at not even, well, obviously the Malkin incident, but not a day or two before, Sidney Crosby sucker punched somebody on the ice. Yeah, like right in the middle of a play, just hit the dude right in the face. Yeah, there's just you can't be doing that, man. And they cannot give anybody preferential treatment. I don't care who it is, Sidney Crosby included. Sid the Kid.
Yeah.
Sid
sure.
the Kid.
So we're gonna really dive into that entire game that happened on Sunday, and it was a heartbreaking result, but we are going to get to that.
Very much
Mike
so.
Twitter has the jokes tonight. Good
Yeah,
evening,
nice
guys.
haircuts.
Nice haircuts.
That's right.
Yeah.
Low maintenance.
As
boy.
you can tell, I worked really hard on my haircut tonight, Mike Twitter. I styled it. I got it all ready to go here, as you can see. Yeah.
Same.
Rich really worked hard
I
on
just
his
gotta
hairdo.
ask you real quick. Do you go pay for haircuts or do you do that yourself?
I do that myself.
Awesome.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. I
Me
save
too.
a little money every month on my hair.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too.
Rich, don't even
Anyway.
lie. Rich, you've got a
I
nice
do not.
hairdo over there. You spent like 2 hours in makeup preparing for this show tonight.
I do every week. If
You're like the
anybody
news
needs it,
anchor.
it's me.
You're like the 6 o'clock news anchor. You've put makeup on. You've got eyeliner, maybe not eyeliner, but you've definitely got makeup on.
Whoa.
All right.
Eyeliner.
All right. We spend a lot of time on our hair tonight, though, Mike Twitter. I'm glad you pointed that out.
He says he's in the same boat as us.
All right. For all of our listeners that have no idea what we're talking about, they've never watched our live stream.
Oh, that's true.
Me and Rich Howe are both about as bald as you can be. So, yeah, bald is beautiful.
We can kind of grow hair. I could grow
Yeah,
some.
but
It's
would it
not
look
much.
that good? It wouldn't look
Probably
good.
not.
We're in that boat where it's better to shave it.
It is.
That's how I feel about it anyway.
I've done it for years.
All right.
For years.
Let's get back on track here.
Right,
so we're going to do Preds. We're going to do Preds and Penguins fallout. We're going to talk about – that's going to really be perfect because we're going to do our revised list of teams we despise the most. I think we did it way back in the early days of the podcast. We're going to revise our list. We're going to check in. We got a lot of good Twitter responses, so thank you for that. We're going to see what some of our listeners said about their most despised NHL teams. And we've got some rapid fire topics to get into. A lot of things have happened over the last week with this Preds team. I really want to get into Lazan. I really want to get into him, and he's starting to grow on me. How are you feeling about him, Rich?
I've been all in from day one.
All in from day one. I agree with you on that. You were all on him.
Yep. We'll talk about it. But yes, definitely all in on Lazan.
Well, he's starting to grow on me too. So we're going to talk about him a little bit. He deserves he deserves a little bit of love because I really think that this past week he has shown a lot. Jeremy Lazan has really shown a lot to me. And so we're going to get into that. We are also going to give you an early look ahead to the offseason. We're going to see what does this Preds team in this front office really have ahead of them in terms of the offseason.
I know one thing.
I think this team is going to go through some changes.
I do too.
This is the offseason where we're going to see some actual decent changes here. And next season, you're really going to see a new team. Whether no matter what this team does in the playoffs, if they make it, if they don't, I think we're in store for a very hectic and changing offseason for this franchise. So we will kind of give you an early look at that. We got to do our clutch performers of the week. We got to do our Rich is going to catch us up on our catfish cold hard picks. Let's see if we're doing any better. Me and Rich both have really not been good at this since we implemented this.
Not really. But it's
what
easy
can you do
to make a pick, but are you right? Most of the time I'm not. So
all right. So let's get into it with this Preds Penguins fallout. That's our opening face-off tonight. And, I mean, let's just start with this. The Preds and the Penguins, it was a back-to-back. It didn't feel like a game that you could be super confident in because the Preds had just come off a really tough, heartbreaking loss to the Florida Panthers. And they played well in that game as well. But then you go into this Penguins game, 3 o'clock in the afternoon local time start, and another really difficult matchup. The Preds have already beaten the Penguins once this season, and you go into that game, and the Preds are up 2-1 in the third period. Nick Cousins finds a loose puck and makes a really good wicked shot, something he hasn't done very often in his Preds career. But he scores a really good goal to beat DeSmith, and
which was
it
hard.
just wasn't enough. The Penguins kept coming, and it goes to overtime. Preds can't execute in overtime, and they take another really heartbreaking loss as we really go into this final stretch of this season. And what do you know? The Preds are right there on that playoff bubble. The Dallas Stars aren't going anywhere. The Vegas Golden Knights aren't going anywhere. And it's basically become wild card or bust. Don't even think about the top three. That ship has sailed. That over.
Way sailed.
You have to claim a wild card spot at this point. And it's a three-team race. It's a three-team race.
Yeah, so I was just looking at the standings. The Predators are only 1 point ahead of Dallas and 3 points ahead of Vegas. Vegas is out of the wild card spot. Dallas is in the second spot. Catching one of the other teams is a pipe dream at this point. I don't even see how it's even possible. So, you just look at this whole game. It was a back-to-back for the Penguins as well, so that kind of helped a little bit. Duchesne got the first goal to put them tie the game. Cousins got them in a good spot, 2-1, and it just nothing. They just couldn't get anything else going. I really didn't see too much fight from them, which I know we're going to talk about Evgeny Malkin, but I would have thought that incident would have lit a fire under the Predators, and it just did not appear to do so. So what do you think about their third period after all that happened?
Well, yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, Nick Cousins scores that big goal, and you're thinking, wow, okay, the Preds are fighting back. They got to figure out a way. That came like with 14 minutes left, or give or take, 14 minutes left in the third period. So there's still a lot of time left, a hostile crowd, a hostile environment they're playing in. And you've got one team in the Penguins who don't really have a lot of pressure on them right now. No. The Eastern Conference playoffs field is set. Yeah, some seeding can change. The Penguins could still possibly fall into the wild card, but the Eastern Conference playoff field's set. No one is really fighting for – no one is in the Eastern Conference. You look at the Eastern Conference right now, that you have your teams that are going to make the playoffs. Yep. The Western Conference is still very much up for grabs for a lot of teams. And the Preds were one of those teams in this game where they had to execute in the final moments. And even though they played well enough to win both games this weekend, they did not execute well enough in the late portions of both games to win. With that said, you can use this weekend as a springboard into these final games. You really can. Sure. And I really hope that my reading on this locker room is not wrong here, because if my reading on this locker room is correct, then they are going to come into these last games, this last stretch, being extremely ticked off, being extremely focused. They know that they played well enough to win against two really good teams over the weekend. They know what happened with Malkin and what he did to Borowiecki, which we're about to get into. But you know this team is already in playoff mode. They better be.
No, 100%. Yeah.
They better be playing every game like it's an elimination game. Do you agree with that, Rich?
Oh, I 100% agree. If you look at like Dallas and Vegas knocking on the door, they have very easy schedules to finish out the season. Dallas has a really easy schedule, even though they lost to the New Jersey Devils. I don't know who Vegas is taking on. The Predators do still have maybe one game in hand against Vegas. But yeah, you can't, you're going to have to do something and turn the intensity up a little bit. And just like you said, get into that playoff mode, because it's a tough road. It's definitely a tough road for the rest of the season.
So Dallas still has some tough matchups remaining. They do have a pretty soft schedule compared to the Predators, but they still have some tough matchups. They play on Tuesday night, they play Tampa. They have Minnesota, they have Edmonton left, they have Calgary left on their schedule, they have Vegas left on their schedule. Other than that, a lot of their matchups are against lame duck teams that can't make the playoffs. Seattle, Arizona, Anaheim, Vancouver, San Jose. So yeah, Dallas is right there. And then you look at Vegas. Vegas, I mean, it's so hard to figure out Vegas right now because they've underperformed all season. And they've had a lot of injuries. Vegas has had a lot of injuries. But they play Vancouver on Tuesday. Then they take on Calgary. They got Edmonton. So those are two really tough games. They still got to play Washington, which is going to be a tough game for them. They play Dallas, of course, and they finished off the season against St. Louis. So it's really hard to really critique each team's schedule. Yeah, you can put out these numbers and these probabilities, but in the end, it's about taking care of your own business. And so for the Preds, I mean, at least they got I hate to say this, but at least they got a point against Pittsburgh. They eked out a point. Maybe that could be the difference maker. We really don't know. I mean, just getting a point.
1 point
is
was
big.
good.
I mean, it still stinks to lose in a game like that. But let's really get into what everyone wants to talk about.
I was getting ready to say. Yeah.
And what everyone is steaming about. The Evgeny Malkin. Let's lay it out for everyone who maybe wasn't watching the game. Maybe they're a little bit behind, but most people have probably already seen this happen. It was basically two players battling for net front position. You had Mark Borowiecki and Evgeny Malkin. And first, Malkin slashes Borowiecki. Then the play lingers. The play is already past the point of really battling with each other. And then that's when Malkin basically cross-checks Borowiecki.
Yep.
Borowiecki, or he slashes his stick out of his hands, right? Is that how it went? Yeah. Slashes his stick. Borowiecki responds because that's how Boro is. Boro's going to respond to that. And then that's when Malkin
have a chance. Yeah.
And that's when Malkin cross-checks him in the face.
And bloodied his face. It was really weird. They kind of didn't show it until it was kind of after the fact. And they said that Borowiecki slashed Malkin first. I didn't see that. I don't know what that was all about. It was kind of a joke that Malkin even was back on the ice because that's definitely a major penalty. Obviously, it should have been what is it, a match penalty? Is that when they kick you out?
Yeah.
There's just no
never happen though. That would never happen to a player like him. I'm sorry.
No, absolutely not. But
I'm not making an excuse for it. I'm saying it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. So he got a double minor, I think is what it was. But then they gave Borowiecki 2 minutes for slashing. So that only made it a 2 minute a minor, so a power play. Borowiecki didn't come back. Didn't hear anything else from him at all. So I was at a loss. It was very ridiculous. I was actually tweeting for Catfish on Ice, and I brought up the fact that Sidney Crosby got away with punching somebody the other night. Put a video out of that. Malkin seemingly gets away with, damaging Borowiecki, so he can't even come back and play. Yeah. So it was ridiculous. I'm right there with you. We did find some sweet vindication tonight. You want to go ahead and tell everybody?
Yeah. So it just came out before we went live. So Malkin had a hearing today regarding that whole situation. And this is per Mike DeFabo, Penguins beat writer for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. And also, according to Bleacher Report Open Ice, Evgeny Malkin will be suspended 4 games for cross-checking Mark Borowiecki on Sunday. So,
awesome.
I guess we can kind of feel a little bit better about that because I think that punishment fits the crime.
Yeah, I do too. It's just unfortunate. You don't know what could have happened if Borowiecki would have been in the game.
Yeah.
Malkin got to continue to play. Borowiecki didn't. So,
And that kind of comes down to the in-game officiating. And, I mean, every sport is dealing with this right now. And unfortunately, these referees, for better or worse, they're not perfect. They are human as well. They make a lot of mistakes. I do feel like it's a pretty bad issue right now with the NHL, especially with the goaltender interference calls that are going on in this sport. But every sport is dealing with this. NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, they're all dealing with it. So it's one of those things.
Yeah, Mike Twitter says it's fine, but it doesn't help the Preds. Doesn't impact them. It did hurt them, he says, if Penguins play any teams, Preds battling for a spot with those during those 4 games. That's true. Yeah. So this brings us to a really good point real quick. Oh, go ahead. You got something?
No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Rich.
This is a perfect time to talk about our next topic.
Yes.
Which is, who are our most despised teams in the NHL right now?
Yes.
I know we did this before. I don't remember when.
It was way back, Rich. It was like in the early days of the pod.
But I think this is a perfect time to talk about this.
And I think we know
which team is going to probably be, number one on the list for some spots. So,
if you're prisoners of the moment, then yes, the Penguins are going to be number one. I kind of put out a tweet because I was really infuriated by this game. And normally I don't get that worked up over losses. It's a long season. It's 82 games. You're going to lose some tough games. You're going to have some trip ups. But when you're talking about a team like the Penguins, I'm never going to get over 2017 in the Cup Finals. No. I'm never going to get over all the preferential treatment that the Penguins seem to get. And then you see a call like that with Malkin on Borowiecki. And then you see the Preds take the 2-1 lead in the third period. And then you talk about the playoff race and how they're really fighting for their playoff lives. And then they turn around and lose in overtime pretty quickly, might I add.
It was pretty quick.
I mean, it was just really demoralizing. I called it on Twitter. I said it's one of the most demoralizing back-to-back losses I can remember the Preds having in a while. Not because they got crushed in both games, but because they were right there and they could have won those games. That's what made it demoralizing.
Absolutely. And you got to look at the Panthers. Panthers are stupid good. I mean, they are so good. They're such a great team. And the Predators, they held their own. They held their own against I would argue maybe the best team in the league right now. I know Colorado as well.
I would argue that.
Top 1 or 2, definitely. And then, you go up against Pittsburgh back-to-back. They had a back-to-back. Pittsburgh's obviously a tough team. They were on a 4-game losing stretch. They needed to win as well. Predators hung in and at least got a point from those guys. It could have went either way, truthfully, if you look at it.
That's true.
Yeah. So if you talk about it in the heat of the moment, the Penguins kind of probably moved up everyone's list a little bit of most despised, for sure.
So let me give you my revised list here. And it's really pretty basic. I mean, no bells and whistles on my most despised team list right now as of April 11th, 2022. Are we April 11th now? Yeah, we are. All right.
Yes.
I have a 1A and a 1B, Rich.
I see that.
These two teams are two peas in a pod. And for the longest time, one of these teams was all by itself. They were just number one on my list. No one could ever come close to touching them. But Sunday's game changed something in me, Rich.
I see that.
Something deep down inside me changed me on Sunday afternoon when I saw Evgeny Malkin completely get away with the proverbial murder in the NHL.
Yeah, absolutely.
And got to play the rest of the game, as you so eloquently mentioned earlier.
Yep.
So my new list is 1A. Coming in at 1A is the Pittsburgh Penguins. Coming in at 1B. I think my co-host Rich Howe knows who my 1B is.
It was your number one before this.
Yeah, well, that number one has a new has some new competition.
A new friend.
My 1B is still the Chicago Blackhawks, and I said subject to change until the Blackhawks decide to do something stupid, which probably we don't have to wait that long. They'll do something stupid probably in the next couple weeks, and maybe I'll move them back to number one by themselves.
Maybe.
But right now we have a 1A and we have a 1B. It's the Pittsburgh Penguins and it's the Chicago Blackhawks for me. And not to be outdone, number 2 is the St. Louis Blues, but they're safe. They're not the most hated team for me anymore. We had a Mason from Blues Fan Reacts,
Mike Twitter,
and from SB Nation. Mason actually softened the hatred for the Blues for me. Mason was an awesome guest. Go check out his interview we had with him on episode 119. He's actually a really funny guy. Really good stuff with him. And we found some common ground. I actually found some common ground with a Blues fan. The first time ever in my life. Mason,
you had a lot of common ground before.
Yes. Mason, you're a good dude. So the St. Louis Blues, they are now number 2 behind 1A and 1B on my list. I don't even have the rest of my list. That's my list right now, Rich.
No, that's your list. I see that. I didn't really write a list, but I know them off the top of my head.
That's fair.
So what happens with me is like I don't usually have a problem with any team unless they have a player or two that I just don't like.
Yeah.
So my number 1, and this is for you, CJ, our friend CJ. It's the Colorado Avalanche. It's not. I'm just kidding. So we'll find out why when we get to his list. I said that, but
all right.
Yeah, my number 1 is still Tampa Bay at the moment.
That'll never change for you.
It's not going to change. It'll be a little while. Number 2 is probably St. Louis. Number 3, I guess now is probably going to be the Penguins. I really didn't have a problem with them.
You're moving them up though.
They weren't on the list. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I know, Sidney Crosby's an amazing player. You
cannot take away from Sidney Crosby's talent. Anyone who dislikes Sidney Crosby, it has nothing to do with his talent, and it's more about the game and the sanctity of the game, and not showing preferential treatment. We do not want to see the NHL turn into the NBA, the NFL, when it comes to showing superstar players preferential treatment, and that's what we're starting to see.
Yeah. It's you don't take anything away from the Penguins. You don't. I mean, even Malkin, he's an awesome player.
Well, of course he is,
man. You just cannot.
He's a goon.
He's a goon. You just can't do things like that, and that's what it is. Like for the Blues, I don't like Jordan Binnington. I don't like David Perron. I didn't like them when they had Pat Maroon, which that probably carried over to Tampa Bay for me because they got him. Once guys are just buttholes like that, I just don't have anything.
For me, it's also that the Blues ineffectively ended Victor Arvidsson's career in Nashville. With Bertuzzo, who just like
and Bennington.
And Robert Bertuzzo has that reputation. Even Mason, again, you need to go listen to that interview in episode 119, everybody. It was a really good interview. He totally didn't even shy away from it. Mason said, look, Robert Bertuzzo is that type of player, But, that's kind of where the Blues hatred comes from. But, he's going to –
I can't even Mike Twitter right now. Would love the Preds to get Maroon. He wins. I'd rather not win. I hate to say that.
You and Mike Twitter are going to have to talk about that one.
Oh,
okay.
My God.
All right. So let's list some of our Twitter responses on this. This is a really good topic here. This is Catfish on Ice episode 120. We are revising our most despised NHL teams list. I would actually be really excited to see what our lists were way back in the early days of the pod to see how much it's changing. I would have to go back and listen.
Well,
But
I know mine was Tampa and the Blues.
Yeah, yours doesn't
I know
change.
that for a fact.
Yeah. All right. So CJ Wojciech, who is a good friend of the pod in our fantasy hockey league, and is also a really big Milwaukee Admirals fan. He's been on the pod before. He knows a lot about the Milwaukee Admirals, so we always bring him on, and we hope to have him on again soon because we really want to know what's going on with the Admirals. But CJ Wojciech gave us his top 5 list. He went number 1 Bruins, number 2 Blues, number 2 Blues, number 3 Jets, number 4 Ducks, and number 5 Penguins. And I'm like, I called him out on it, Rich. I was like,
I know.
You're putting the Penguins at number 5 after that?
The Bruins? No.
He's got a really big dislike for your fanboy crush team, Rich.
He does. Absolutely. That's why I said Colorado was my number 1, but I was just kidding. He said, what did he say? He said something about, I don't even remember why he doesn't like the Bruins, but I think I know he doesn't like Brad Marchand, and a lot of people don't, but it's okay. It's all good.
He said that his company is based out of Boston, and all I hear is how great their team is and blah, blah, blah. They make me want to root against the Bruins. All right. Fair enough.
That's fair enough. That's fair.
Right. It is all about personal experiences and what you deal with every day.
Yep.
All right. UC Sorrows, who is also in our fantasy hockey league and a friend of the show, he put Blackhawks at number 1, Penguins number 2, Blues number 3, Red Wings, an old foe, at number 4. He put in parentheses whiny fan base. And I didn't expect to see this team on a Preds fan list.
Yeah,
but he put the Rangers on there again because of the whiny fan base.
Yeah.
So we're using whiny fan bases as a criteria here for our list tonight. All right, fair enough.
You can't.
I can get
if you talk about fan bases, though, man, when you get on Twitter after a certain team or any team wins or loses, the comments, if you just go in and read them.
Well, yeah, if you're going and looking for them,
so bad, so horrible.
That is true. All fan bases are bad about that.
Preds fans are guilty of it as well. Everybody.
Oh yeah, every fan base is guilty of that for sure.
You just got to stay away from it.
But some are worse than others. So I do wholeheartedly believe in that. All right, we got Ryan on Twitter. He puts his list: 1 Penguins, 2 Rangers. We're seeing another Rangers here.
That's weird.
3 Blackhawks, 4 Blues, 5 Bruins. Your Bruins are coming back on the list here.
Boo.
Chris on Twitter says, I hate the Jets also in Nashville, North, the Wild, and Dallas. And wait, damn, I hate them all. No, really, I hate the Penguins and the Dirty Ducks the most. There are players that have a pretty unhealthy dislike for, and Malkin has been one of them for years. All right. Thanks for that really good comment there.
He put Ducks in parentheses.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and omit that because we're a family-oriented podcast. But thank you for the comment, Chris, nonetheless. Yeah, so Penguins, you're shooting up on our list here for sure.
Very much so. It's crazy, right?
But, so Malkin gets the 4-game suspension. In the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't affect the Penguins at all. Because at worst case scenario for them, they might fall into the wild card position, and the Capitals might jump ahead of them. The Capitals are 4 points behind the Penguins for a wild card spot. But other than that, the playoff field is so set. There is no drama in the Eastern Conference right now.
Yeah. Mike Twitter had said something about it would help with Malkin being suspended if they were playing somebody who, if it would help the Predators, but they're not playing anybody that would give the Predators any kind of boost. So, but truthfully, I mean, they survived the first half of the season without Malkin. He didn't play for a long time.
Yeah.
And look at them now. So, I mean, it doesn't
No,
matter.
it's not gonna affect the Penguins at all. Right now, every Eastern Conference team is thinking about the playoffs. Yeah, they want to maybe battle for a couple seeds here and there, but I mean, it's all set. And the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs is going to be a bloodbath. It really is. I mean, good luck picking who's going to win in the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs in each series. Crazy. It's going to be close. But yeah, so it's a tough way to come out of the weekend, but we're going to keep it positive here. We're going to do our best to keep it positive here because according to moneypuck.com, the Preds still have like a 90% chance to make the playoffs. So
our friend Lindsay put a message in our fantasy hockey Twitter message board thing. Somebody had said that the Predators' chances were 94%.
I don't even see how it's that high. But
that's crazy. I don't get that at all.
These people know way more than we do about math and all this stuff, so I'm not going to question them.
Yep, me either.
This is episode 120 of Catfish on Ice with Chad Minton and Rich Howe, presented by DraftKings and part of the Hockey Podcast Network. Let's get into some rapid-fire topics here for episode 120. And the first topic I want to talk about is Jeremy Lauzon. And everyone was criticizing the addition, including myself, to a degree. I'll put myself in that category.
Yep.
Because I wasn't crazy, obviously, about the second-round draft pick that was given up to get him, to just add another third pairing bruiser, if you will, another grinded out type of player. I wanted to see the Preds make a big addition. If they were going to make an addition at the trade deadline, I wanted to see the Preds get themselves a skilled player that could score goals. And so when I saw Jeremy Lauzon, I was like, what is he going to bring to this team that this team doesn't already have? That's kind of where I was at on it.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, he is quickly growing on me in that third pair role. And then he even got elevated to the top pairing.
And did pretty well.
Do you think he did well, Rich?
Well. I mean, he appeared to be playing well to me.
He's even getting shots on goal. I mean, he is. He's I know he didn't score, but he's actually putting shots on goal.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So do you feel that because everybody was upset about the second round pick that it tainted their feelings for him? Do you think that was the thing, or was it just?
I think so. Well, I think a lot of people, including I can speak for myself. I didn't like the addition because I'm like, okay, the Preds are just doing what they always do. They're adding themselves another big quote unquote bruiser that likes to fight and likes to play physical. And it's like a lot of Preds fans are sick of that because we know what this team really needs is more goal scoring and more skilled players because let me just put it in perspective for everybody. And I think a lot of people already know this. But the Preds might still miss the playoffs despite career years from Phil Forsberg, Matt Duchene, Tanner Jeannot. I mean,
Roman Josi, Ryan Johansson.
Roman Josi might hit 100 points this season. Ryan Johansson scored more goals than he's ever scored for this team. I mean, where does it end? I mean, you've got all these players having outstanding individual seasons.
Yep.
That's not even bringing up Alex Carrier. Alex Carrier is getting completely overlooked. He's got more assists in his rookie year than what Roman Josi did in the same amount of games.
Yep.
You know that, Rich?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Western Conference and the Predators division is tough. It's one of the toughest, in my opinion. I think it's very hard. So, I can see it happening that if they don't make the playoffs, it will be a huge shame because of the year they're having. But it's just such a tough conference, man. I mean,
but nobody's even talking about Alex Carrier, he's overshadowed because of all these other individual seasons. But Alex Carrier is having a really good season.
He is. Yeah, he is having a good season.
Oh, look at Mike Twitter coming in with the Lucas Spiza. Lucas. He's calling him Lucas. Lucas Spiza.
That's good. That's his assumed identity.
I guess. I don't know. Yeah, we've done all this without Lucas Spiza. Yeah, amazingly.
Yep.
But yeah, it's like so many players. Even you could even look at Mikael Granlund and the amount of assists he's put up, and he's had a bounce back here. I mean, it's like, and this team might still miss the playoffs. I don't want to think negatively right now, but the point I'm trying to make is everything had to break right for this team to even be in this moment right now.
Yep. Yep.
And so when you see at the deadline, there was opportunities out there to add a really big game-changing player.
Yep.
And what did they do? They got a Jeremy Lauzon, another third pairing fighter.
They did.
That's why I was against it at the time. And I'm still not fully on board with it. But I got to tell you, he's growing on me because I really appreciated the way he played this past week. His time on the penalty kill, taking block shots to the gut.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually finding ways to get shots on goal. Of course, he's out there fighting, which we expected that. But, I mean, he's growing on me.
Yeah. So I was okay when they got him. I guess if you look at overall big picture, the Predators are about where we thought they were going to be anyway. It's just the bad part is it's a shame that these guys are playing so well and they can't seem to get over the hump. But when they got Lauzon, I was okay with it because I remember watching him when he played for Boston. He did well for Boston. Boston had a lot of really good defensemen the year he played a lot for them. So he probably got overlooked a little bit and then obviously went to Seattle. And, man, we know how Seattle's year has turned out, so you really can't look at that. I think what's going to happen is Matt Benning is probably not going to be with us at the end of the season. And I think that Lauzon is going to be his replacement. And he is a tad bit better than Benning.
I agree.
A little more. You get a little more out of him. He's a bigger guy, which is what Hines obviously
agree.
Big dude, can score here and there. Will fight at the drop of a hat, which that's what their identity, that word that they like to use all the time. So I was good with it. I know the second round pick got everybody all in a tizzy,
and Lauzon is Lauzon's just 24 years old. Matt Benning is 27 years old. So to your point, Rich, the Preds got a little younger.
Yep.
And you got to assume if Matt Benning does not come back to this team next year, then the Preds got essentially the same player, if not a better player, an upgrade.
Yep.
That player is younger.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you don't like the second round pick given up, but in the same token, you basically have made Matt Benning a player you can let go in the offseason, and just let it go.
Yep. And they'll save just a tad bit of money, but they want to keep Lauzon, and I think he seems to really like playing there. So
they'll keep him. That would shock me if Lauzon's not on this team next year. All right, that kind of really perfectly sends us into our next segment, which we want to really do an early look ahead to the offseason and what this team is really going to be up against. The front office and David Coyle, what are they going to be up against this offseason? Before we get into that, let's throw some love to our sponsor, DraftKings, which is the official sports betting partner of the NHL. Hockey fans, feel the action on the ice like never before with DraftKings Sportsbook. As the playoff race really heats up, I'm telling you right now, there's no better playoff format than the Stanley Cup playoffs. And DraftKings is DraftKings is going to be there for you. Right now, new customers can bet just $1 on any team to win and get $150 in free bets if they do. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet just $1 on any NHL team to win. Get $150 in free bets if they do. That's code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NHL. 21 and up restrictions apply. See our show notes for details, please. If you have a gambling problem, we have information on how to get gambling help and responsible gambling practices. If the sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still hit the ice for cold hard cash. New customers can make their first deposit and play for thousands with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Hockey Contest. The Daily Fantasy is a lot of fun. That option's good for you. And I can personally tell you, because I use DraftKings all the time, that it's safe, secure, reliable. You can withdraw your winnings instantly into your bank account. And it's just a really easy way to have a little fun, bet a little money. I threw a little money on the Masters this weekend, though, and I lost. Wow. Yeah, I put money on Dustin Johnson to come back, and he didn't deliver for me, but it's okay.
So is that how you bet on the Masters? Just who wins?
No, golf is just like golf. You can throw a really small amount of money out there because there's so many golfers, and the payouts are really large. So it's like, you're just like, it's like buying a lottery ticket.
Okay,
but
you don't bet on like individual things that happen within the golf.
No,
game.
You can. No, you can. Really? You can do that
like
too. Yeah.
Like what?
I mean, I'm sure there's all kinds of prop bets out there that you can do. I normally I hitch my wagon to one golfer, and I just hope that that golfer can rise above the 30 or 40 other golfers that are out there. Like golf is really tough, but but Dustin Johnson didn't pull through for me, so it's okay.
Yeah.
I watched Tiger Woods though. I was really pulling for Tiger Woods because that man should not even be alive.
No,
after the car accident he had. And to see him actually walk that golf course, and he looked really good on Thursday and Friday. He made some good putts. He made some good chips. But
I read that.
He just could not put it together over the weekend. But Tiger Woods, it was still really cool just to see him on the golf course.
Yeah. I read that he did well and then kind of messed up a little bit.
Well, what people don't realize about Augusta National is it's a very mountainous, hilly golf course. And what everyone was talking about was, how is Tiger Woods going to be able to walk this golf course for 4 straight days? Like, I mean, they thought that his leg was going to have to be amputated after that car accident.
Yeah, I remember that.
And the fact that he even walked 4 days on this golf course is just an incredible accomplishment in itself. So I was happy to see Tiger Woods out there, even though his score wasn't that great.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into the early look ahead to the offseason. Even though we hope the offseason's pushed away and the Preds go on a deep run in the playoffs, we're still going to take an early look ahead at this offseason and what the Preds front office has in store for them. And Rich, you want to go ahead and take a stab at what the elephant in the room is on that one?
Well, I think it all hinges on whether or not Philip Forsberg is still here. That's a big, huge piece. If he walks, they're going to be searching for another big name forward, trying to woo somebody here. I don't know who it would be. They're going to need somebody to fill a huge gap left by him, and they'll have a lot of money to pay.
So you want to hear
person. This? I do.
So I got a date for you, Rich, that you might want to mark on your calendar as a date where you need to make sure you have something happy planned in case things go bad.
Okay.
July 13th, 2022 is the day that NHL free agency signing period begins.
Okay.
So at the very worst, Philip Forsberg will be a Nashville Predator until July 13th.
And maybe after.
And that's when all hell breaks loose.
That's when all hell breaks loose. You know, we thought he was walking too, but he wound up staying. So there's just more at stake here.
Yeah.
It seems like so.
I've already said if David Poile watches this team not only miss the playoffs despite all these great things happening individually, and he loses Philip Forsberg, I might have to take a year off from this team.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, I can't do that because I do a podcast, but I'm going to be tempted. I'm telling you, Rich, I'm going to be tempted.
It's Yeah. So I haven't watched the team as long as you have. I know it's always been a struggle. But just the time that I have watched them and been my favorite team, I'm not gonna lie, it is a struggle sometimes because you just see nothing gets better. It seems like that there's always some kind of problem or whatever, but hopefully they just got to keep Philip Forsberg, please, somehow. I don't know how, but
they got to do it. They got to figure out a way. And what I'm really afraid of is that David Poile has actually backed himself into a corner. He has no leverage now in the negotiating table. Philip Forsberg has all the power, and if Philip Forsberg wants $10 million a year now, he's going to get $10 million a year. Whereas you maybe could have. I wasn't behind the scenes. I wish I was, but maybe you could have gotten him for $9 million a year. I don't know, but now Phil, there's a team out there, not named the Nashville Predators, that will probably pay him $9.5 to $10 million a year.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know which team that is, but there's a team out there that will do it. And so now the question comes down to how much money is David Poile willing to shell out? And I'm just not so sure that David Poile is going to do it.
I don't know. You hear him talk like
he's an old school general manager, Rich. He's old school. I don't know if he's willing to pay the money. He might be cheap.
Yeah. He makes it sound like they're not too far apart. So hopefully that is true. I'm really hoping that that's true, but that's a big, huge part of what's going to happen next year. If you look at some other players, this kind of goes into another one of our rapid fire questions about lineup decisions. We had mentioned in the notes about Eli Tolvanen.
Yes.
So I think Hines is souring on a few players, and I think he may be one. I think Luke Cunnin is one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know that Fabro didn't play. We never really heard.
Yeah, what is going on with that? What is going on with that? I don't get it.
Yeah. It's just really weird. So these are kind of some things you're going to be looking for in the offseason, like what's going to happen with those guys.
Does Dante Fabro have some dirt on John Hines?
I don't know what's going on.
I mean,
you never really heard if he was hurt or what, but
that's such a weird dynamic, though. Like, I mean, because we saw it in the playoffs last year too. Yeah. Like, I just because I don't think Dante Fabro's played that bad. I mean,
no, doesn't seem to.
He's still such a young player. He's only 23. He's only 23 years old. I mean, he's younger than Jeremy Lauzon, who we're talking about here. Yeah, and I mean, he's got one more year left on his contract. So, I mean. Yeah, I don't know. That's such a weird dynamic to me, the whole John Hines, Dante Fabro situation. But I'll tell you one thing. Hines is not afraid to make some really bold lineup decisions, not only with Dante Fabro, but he healthy scratched Eli Tolvanen last week to kind of – it kind of came off as to give him a little bit of a reset to almost be like, hey, take a game off. Refocus yourself. And I mean, I'm all for that. I think that could be a very beneficial thing for a young player like Tolvanen. But at some point, we got to stop making excuses for the whole Tolvanen's a young player thing. Well, he's still obviously got time to figure it out. But John Hines is sending a very clear message that he's not afraid to healthy scratch a player.
Yeah, and that's why I brought him up. Like, we know that he got moved up to the second line with Granlund and Duchesne. It feels like it's kind of like an audition. It's like, hey man, you're getting top 6 minutes now. You need to start producing. Or I mean, like in the off season, you don't know. I don't know I haven't looked at his contract or whatever, but like, is he auditioning even to keep his job for next season?
You talking about Eli Tolvanen?
Yeah, Tolvanen. Yeah, for sure. Like, and I know that they moved Tomasino up to the first line. They're obviously not going to get rid of him. But he's kind of saying to these guys, hey man, this is your shot. You guys are getting good minutes. I mean,
Eeli Tolvanen's under contract for a few more years.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't think it's a situation where he's going anywhere anytime soon. Gotcha. But I think he's such an important future piece of this team. I mean, this organization desperately needs Eeli Tolvanen to be a top 6 elite scoring type of player. And he's had some bad luck. His shooting percentage has suffered. I've seen so many instances this season where Tolvanen was in the right place to score and the goalie just makes a great save.
Yeah, and that's true. And he's hit the post a few times. I know that. But that's kind of what we're talking about, like offseason, what's going to happen? Like if Tolvanen doesn't start producing in these last 10, 11 games or whatever, like they're going to have to figure something out for like secondary scoring in addition to finding somebody if Forsberg leaves or whatever, because Duchesne's obviously stepped up. Johansson's playing better. Forsberg's obviously Forsberg. But you need those secondary scorers, and that's what the role that Tolvanen is supposed to be in. And eventually Tomasino is going to be in, Tomasino or better, secondary or better.
Tomasino should be a day one top 6 starting player on next year's team.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But going back to, we also don't know at all what's going to happen in the free agency signing period. And we totally expect the Preds to have plenty of buying power this offseason with their cap situation.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have to wait and see what kind of money they have to end up paying Forsberg to keep him. But even after that, I expect the Preds to have a little money to spend. So we don't know what's going to happen with that. But you're looking at a Nick Cousins who's going to be an unrestricted free agent. I do not expect him to come back. I think that Nick Cousins is going to expect a raise, and I don't think the Preds should pay him for a raise. I think he's a good player. I think he's a glue player. I don't have any problem with Nick Cousins. I just don't think he fits the makeup of this team moving forward.
Yeah, it seems like, he doesn't really – I don't know. He's had times when he has seemed like one of those guys, but it just seems lately it's not been that case.
He's a $1.5 million player right now. I think he's going to expect more. And unless the Preds want to pay him more than that, another team's going to pluck him up for more than that. Yep. So I don't see Nick Cousins as a long-term Preds player. So he's probably gone. I could be wrong, but I don't see him sticking around. Ben Harper, I don't think we need him.
I don't think so either.
Mark Borowiecki signed a contract, so he's under contract for another year after this. And that was a really good story that Brooks Bratton wrote.
I was going to say something about that. Yeah, for sure.
You want to kind of talk about that a little bit, Rich?
I didn't read the whole article, but I did see a quote from Borowiecki about how he feels valued with the Predators more than he ever has.
Yeah, I've got the quote right here. Yeah, I've got the quote right here. It says, from Brooks Bratton, who covers the team, Brooks Bratton, it says, quote, "It's our lives and our identities right now." And I think when you have a group that's tight-knit like that, that can kind of be an X factor down the stretch here just because you want to play hard for each other. And I totally see that with this team. I really do. Yeah. For all the downfalls that this team has, and I know we criticize this team all the time.
Yep.
I totally see that this team plays for each other.
They do. Yeah.
And so when I see a quote like that from Mark Borowiecki when it comes to playing for each other and how he feels appreciated by this organization, I love that. I love to see that. And so he's going to be a part of this team next year for sure.
Yeah. And he took a pay cut too to stay. So he really likes it here. And I think he is appreciated. The fans like him. He does a good job. He puts it all out there. So I like to.
So you look at the defense next. This is really where I think the Preds are going to have to focus majorly on their defensive core in the offseason because you've got Jeremy Lazan. Okay, you expect him to stick around. You've got Mark Borowiecki, but you've still got Jeremy Davies, who you want to elevate. You've got Dante Fabro, who, I mean, you expect him to be around. And then you've still got Matthias Ekholm, Alexander Carrier, and Roman Yossi, who are locks for the team for the long-term period. So you got to figure that part out. And then when it comes to the forwards, Luke Cunnin is kind of like he's under contract. He's not a free agent this year, but he has definitely been the player that a lot of people, including myself, I love his fight. I love his grit. I even said that I love when he sticks up for his teammates and he doesn't put up with anything, but his play itself has been very underperforming.
Unfortunately, it has. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, all these guys go through patches and stretches where they don't play well, but yeah, he just seems like something's going on with him as well.
As a top 6 player, 20 points in 72 games is not going to get it done.
No.
12 goals, 8 assists. You love all the hits. You love all the fighting. You love the passion that Luke Cunnin brings.
Yep.
But that's not a top 6 player, really.
No.
Like, that's more of a fourth line glue guy. That's not the numbers you want to see from a player who's getting top 6 minutes. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where you're at with Luke Cunnin.
For sure.
And then just really looking at some of these up-and-coming players who are in Milwaukee, how about Cody Glass? Cody Glass is tearing apart the AHL right now for Milwaukee. Cody Glass, who started the season on the Preds roster and immediately got sent down to the Admirals. Immediately.
Yep.
And it was basically pinned as Cody Glass needs to go down to Milwaukee and really reestablish his game. He needs to really develop. And boy, has he ever. Cody Glass has 46 assists, 60 points in 63 games for Milwaukee this year. His 46 assists are near the top of the league in the AHL right now.
Wow. That's huge.
You got to expect Cody Glass to have a really good chance to once again be in the starting lineup. Maybe Cody Glass can be a replacement of Nick Cousins.
That would be a good swap, I guess would be the word. Yeah, I'll take that.
And you still have Tommy Novak, who played really good at the beginning of the season, and then he got hurt, and he ended up not ever making his way back in the lineup. So you got to wonder where Tommy Novak fits into next season. So there's a lot that's going to really have to be figured out this offseason.
Yep, absolutely.
And then, of course, goaltending speaking. Hello, Lindsay. Lindsay knocked me out of the Catfish on Ice fantasy hockey playoffs.
She sure did.
Oh, Lindsay. My team wasn't enough. Lucas Spiza could not put together a good enough team.
Oh, man.
To take down Lindsay's team in fantasy hockey.
Yep. That's crazy.
So,
anyway. Hello, Lindsay.
Yeah. All right. And so one more thing. David Riddick is going to be an undrafted free agent. We are unrestricted free agent.
Yep.
And so we don't expect him to make it back to the Preds. But Lindsay, who just popped into the podcast, we really hope you still stay a Preds fan and you still continue to follow the team with us because we love having you.
She likes Tanner Jeannot a lot. So
Tanner Jeannot will keep her around.
Yeah, I think so.
Tanner Jeannot's not going anywhere, Lindsay.
No, but yeah, the offseason's a little murky. We don't know what they're going to do. And if they do wind up getting paying some money out and getting another forward, top 6 type person, there's going to be some shifting to do again with the lineup to make it all fit. So I guess we'll see what happens. It's going to be a little crazy.
See what happens.
See what's
all right.
So what do we want to? We want to talk about cold hard picks real quick before we go.
Let's get into the cold hard picks. How about you update everyone on how we did last week with our cold hard picks, and then we'll reveal our picks for this week. Give me some good news here, Rich, because we've been struggling on our cold hard picks.
You did great, sir.
Oh, did I?
You went 3 for 3 with your
Took
cold
me
hard
long
picks.
enough.
You did awesome. I only got one.
So
So
tell
as
me,
of-
tell us the picks from last week real quick.
Okay.
What
So
did I go with? What did you go with?
You took Senators over the Canadians, Blue Jackets over the Flyers, Lightning over the Capitals. All three of those things happened.
So two of my three picks, two of my three games I picked were like complete those games didn't even matter though in the standings.
Yeah, they don't, but yeah, it's all right. It's all good. So then I took Leafs over the Panthers. That did not happen. Penguins over the Avalanche did not happen. Predators over the Wild. That did happen. That got me 1 point. So as of right now, you are winning 5 points to 4. You moved ahead. So you're winning right now. So our picks for this week. Here's what we have for this week. So you're saying Stars over the Lightning, which that's huge. That's a good one.
So let me give you a little let me give you a little bit of a reasoning behind my pick there. I feel like the Lightning are probably on a little bit of a coast right now. They're a little on cruise control right now, whereas the Stars are very much the more desperate team in that matchup.
Right.
And don't discount the Stars for beating anybody. They are one of those types of teams that can they can lose to anybody. They can beat anybody. They're that big of they're almost like the Predators in a lot of ways. So I see the Stars just really making us even more and more anxious and nervous about the Preds making the playoffs. I think they're going to beat the Lightning on Tuesday.
That's a good pick there. Well, kind of bold, but like you said, probably in cruise control mode. So then your second one, you took the New Jersey Devils over the Coyotes. I think that's probably gonna happen.
That's a tough pick, though. I figured I would pick a tough one there.
Yeah. Well, New Jersey beat Dallas the other day, and it was glorious to watch. So it was a good game. I watched the end of it. So the other one, you got Golden Knights over the Canucks. So that's.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong on two of my three picks this week. But I
do too.
Yep. The Canucks are another team that really have nothing to play for at this point, and the Golden Knights have everything to play for. So
just pride.
Yeah.
Yep. So mine, I took the Bruins over the Blues.
That's a tough game to pick.
It is. Rich. Bruins need to win though. So I think they'll be coming out a little tougher. So, and they should have Pasternak back. He got hurt. So I think they'll have him back by then. If not, they might be in trouble. The other one I took was Rangers over the Hurricanes.
Ooh.
That's my big, right?
Rangers just clinched the playoffs officially. They're in. So,
well, then maybe not. I don't know.
Well, they're still playing for pride. They're still. I mean, they still want to win.
Yep, that's true. The last one is Oilers over the Wild. So I think the Oilers are going to be the Wild are probably. I don't think they're on cruise control so much, but they're feeling a little bit better. But the Oilers, I think, are definitely going to want to.
Oilers are coming into form. Oilers are really starting to come into form. The Oilers were dead in the water for the longest time. Like people were talking about how the Oilers might not even make the playoffs, and now all of a sudden they're like finally just clicking on all cylinders. And I mean, they're a team that could definitely once again make some noise. I know they choke in the playoffs all the time, much like the Toronto Maple Leafs do in the Eastern Conference. But yeah, they're coming. Those are some good picks by you, Rich. I like your picks. So we'll see how we do.
That Rangers over the Hurricanes win, man. I don't know about that one, but
we will look back at our picks on Thursday in episode 121. Let's get to our clutch performers of the week. We got 4 games to look at.
Yep.
Because we said in last week's episode, even though we went live after the game, we said we would count the Minnesota win as this week's clutch performers. So we have 4 games to look back at, Rich.
Yep. I saw your tweet.
Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah, it was good. So yeah, we're on the same wavelength, I think. Either that or I copied from you. So I don't know which one it is. But go ahead and give yours. And we'll talk about it. Those are the 3 that I picked as well.
All right, so here's my close performers of the week. And it was kind of tough, and I do have a really good honorable mention, and I really wanted to put this player in the top 3, but I just couldn't do it. But number 3 for me coming in is Matt Duchene. Matt Duchene had 3 goals, 2 assists, 12 shots on goal. So he's continuing his aggressive offensive pace. Yep. Also chipped in for 3 block shots. You know, what have we always accused Matt Duchene of doing? Disappearing. Yep. Going on these long stretches where it's like, where are you, Matt Duchene? He has not done that this season. He's not. And I'm really, really just so impressed by how every game Matt Duchene looks completely locked in. He looks completely focused. And I've been so nervous and anxious that he's going to throw us a 5 or 10 game stretch where he just goes goose egg. He just doesn't show up. And he's not doing it for us. He'll have a game here or there where he doesn't do much, but for the most part, he has stayed consistent all season. So he's my number 3 clutch performer of the week is Matt Duchene. He had a really, really strong week once again. My number 2 clutch performer of the week is, come on now. It's got to be Roman Josi. Roman Josi had a couple games where he was also a little quiet. He didn't do much against Florida. He only had 2 block shots, but he also didn't score a point against Pittsburgh. But then you look at what he did against Ottawa. You look at what he did last Tuesday against Minnesota, and he still put up a 6-point week, 7 blocks, 8 hits, and he's still quarterbacking this team completely right now.
Yep, he's the definition of clutch.
Yes, and he comes in at number 2 for me this week, which means you got to do a lot to be number 1 ahead of Roman Josi on my clutch performers. But I'm going to go ahead and give it to a player who I have been very, very adamant about criticizing.
Hey,
but I'm not going to do it. Credit where credit is deserved. Ryan Johansson is my number 1 clutch performer of the week. He got his first hat trick with the Preds. Yeah, how does that even happen? He got his first hat trick. He scores 5 goals on the week, 14 shots on goal on the week, including 7 shots on goal in his hat trick game against Minnesota. He scored the game-winning goal against Ottawa on the power play. He's been really aggressive. He's been focused. He's been in on his game, and he's really rising up at a time when the Preds really, really need him. So he's my top clutch performer of the week is Ryan Johansson. My honorable mention is Jeremy Lauzon, who racked up 21 hits on the week, 5 block shots, chipped in on the penalty kill for some really big penalty killing time. Yep. He's my honorable mention. I really wanted to put Lauzon in my top 3, but I just couldn't do it.
Yeah. Got to play with the captain against Pittsburgh. That was awesome. Yeah, that's a good list. Yeah, that's definitely a good list this week for sure.
How do you have your top 3?
Yeah, Roman Josi is going to be on the list probably all the time. He's just clutch, man. He's like clutch when he's eating breakfast, I'm sure, like just all day.
So Roman Josi. So when Roman Josi's putting the syrup over his waffles, it's clutch. Like
he probably doesn't eat waffles, but yeah, I agree.
Waffles?
Yeah. I don't know.
Everybody eats waffles.
I don't know. Do those guys? They're on diets. They're on special diets.
I don't know. They're humans. All right.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, good list for sure. Definitely. Awesome.
All right.
Awesome.
So that's your list too? That's your list?
Yeah, that's who I was going to pick. Yeah.
All right, perfect. All right.
Same thing. Yeah,
all right. Well, this is episode 120 of Catfish on Ice. It's been a really fun episode. We appreciate everyone watching on YouTube, commenting on the stream, interacting with us on social media. And we are going to close out episode 120 like we always do with a little positivity, because we all need a little positivity in this world, this crazy world we have. And we always end every episode, or we try to, with the fun things we saw on the interwebs.
Yep.
And Rich, did you see some of my interweb tweets that I came across this week that were just awesome?
I don't remember. I have one too. Maybe unless you have it as well.
Well, share yours first. Actually, share yours first, and then we'll get to some of the ones I had.
This one was a tweet that broadcaster Lindsay Rowley put out. I don't know if you saw that. Did you see that?
I did
Yeah.
see.
So she was standing behind the bench, and someone threw a glove, and she had something in her hands and could not catch it, and like it hit her a little bit, and she kind of like fell down, and she was saying that like almost got taken out by a glove or whatever. That was pretty funny. It was awesome to see her laugh about it and stuff.
Yes.
So that was a good one. I like that a lot.
You love it when someone can laugh at themselves. You know, we need more of that. Don't take life too seriously type of thing.
No.
Lindsay Rowley, I mean, we would love to have her on the podcast sometime.
Oh, for sure.
If she happens to listen to this or comes across us on here tonight, we would be more than honored to have Lindsay Rowley on Catfish and Ice. She is one of the best out there. Like, we love Lindsay Rowley, but that was a really funny. So I've got one here. I'm a big animal guy, Rich. I think you know this. Love animals. Animals are like way more likable to me than humans. I'm just gonna be honest. But I came across some good ones this week, but one that literally made me laugh out loud. Not like just LOL laugh out loud, but I'm seeing like I literally laughed out loud. Oh wow. So this person put out a tweet. This is from Amanda Softstar, I don't know, on at a SOF star on Twitter, but it's a picture of a cat, and it looks like a Garfield cat. Okay. And it looks like this cat is taking a selfie, and it's a real cat.
Oh,
and
that's crazy.
The caption says, "Guys in their 40s taking selfies."
I think I did see that, actually.
You got to see it to really laugh at it, but it's so true.
I think
the way this cat looks, looking in this phone camera, and it's literally how I take my selfies. And so it's got 77,000 likes at this point.
Wow.
And almost 6,000 retweets, but it's hilarious.
Speaking of cool animals, I saw a tweet you put out of your dog playing in the creek. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. That's always a good one, yeah.
Yeah.
I got another good animal one here. This is more of a joke here. This is from Mariana Z on Twitter. She puts out, "My dog accidentally swallowed a whole bag of Scrabble tiles. We took him to the vet to get him checked out. No word yet." And if that's over your head, basically Scrabble, it's a word game. There's no word yet on the Scrabble tiles. Thought that was
meaning
funny.
That the dog hasn't.
If we got to explain it to you anymore, then I don't know what to tell you.
Hasn't gotten rid of the Scrabble tiles yet.
And then the last one I got here that was really cool. I always love when athletes, especially the really worldly famous, like insanely famous athletes, throw some love back to fans and throw some love back to just regular people. And I don't know if you know, I know you're not a big football guy, Rich, but you know who J.J. Watt is, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So J.J. Watt put out a really cool tweet. J.J. Watt, by the way, has got almost 6 million followers on Twitter. So he's kind of a big deal. But he put out a tweet here that says, "Landed in London, went for a walk around, and was stopped by this woman who immediately said, 'No way,' and started rolling up her pant legs. Wasn't sure what to expect at that moment, but my own face wouldn't have made the top 5 guesses. Next level fan love. Thank you." She basically had socks on of JJ Watt with his eye paint on.
What are the odds of that?
And he took a picture. He took a picture with her pointing at the socks, smiling. And I just think that's really awesome when these really, big time athletes just show some humility, show some down to earthness. And JJ Watt's one of the best defensive players in our generation in the NFL. And just to see that, I'm sure that he made that person's year, that person's, it's just so cool to see stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. And what are the odds, man? Go to London and run into someone on the street wearing your socks. That's crazy.
And he also has a really good sense of humor because in the background, there's a shop window that says, "Shop with your DNA." And JJ Watt responded to his own tweet and said, "No, I have no idea what shop with your DNA means. Sounds creepy."
That's awesome.
And he also took a picture with he took a picture with a couple who were apparently they're from Houston, living in Europe, and basically they ran into J.J. Watt randomly.
Wow, that's crazy.
So just a really cool thing. You love to see these professional athletes do that kind of thing.
Yep.
Show a little down-to-earthness.
Super popular. Yeah.
And we know that Preds players are really good about that.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Definitely.
Like if I could just run into Pecorine in the mall, like shopping for random stuff, I would need to do anything else the rest of my life. That would make my life complete.
My goal is to get my Pecorine home jersey signed by him somehow. I don't know how that's going to happen. It might not ever happen, but I would love to have that. So how can I make that happen? Anybody? Any ideas? Anybody?
It's your lucky day, Rick, because I'm just going to go ahead and pull Pecorine up in my speed dial, and we'll make it happen.
He's selling his house in Nashville. Did you see that?
Well, that makes me sad. I don't want to hear that.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it's a big, huge old house too. It's nice.
We're supposed to end the podcast on a positive note, Rich, and you're telling me that Pecorine is leaving Nashville.
Yep, he'll buy another house here, I'm sure. So
I hope so. All right. Well, this has been episode 120 of Catfish on Ice. It's been really fun to have my awesome co-host Rich Howe back with me. I had to run solo last week, Rich.
I know. Kudos to you because that's tough. You did a good job.
But I was really happy that you got to spend time with your family.
Yeah, thank you.
How did the spring break go with your family?
It was good. We went to the Louisville Zoo. They do a thing every year where they put out they have like a light festival, and they got these animals that are all like lantern, like Chinese lantern type thing. So we did that, and then went to another museum on Friday. Went and saw Morbius Friday night. Just kind of hung out. It was a good time. So
that's awesome, man. Family always comes first. I always say that, and that will always be true. But we appreciate everyone joining us tonight. We will be back this Thursday for a brand new episode of Catfish on Ice. So stay tuned for that. We love all of our listeners. Shout out to Renegades of Puck, a fellow podcast in Nashville. We appreciate them as well, and all the support they show to Nashville Predators hockey, local hockey, and also the kind words that they threw to us as well. We appreciate them a lot as well. We will see you this Thursday. Thanks a lot. This has been Catfish on Ice, episode 120 with Chad Minton and Rich Howe, brought to you by DraftKings, part of the Hockey Podcast Network. We hope you have a great week, and we will see you this Thursday. Take care, everybody.
Have a good one.